What is happening, my friend?
Good morning, Travis.
Good morning, Michael. Good to see you, Dr. Watkins, as usual.
I can't believe how close we are to Christmas. It's freaking me out, I think, the most.
It's funny you bring that up because you were telling me the story about how you put up Christmas lights over the weekend, and it is only early December.
Yeah.
But you almost feel like you were telling me that, and in my mind I was judging you. Like, you're late, dude. You were supposed to be doing this weeks ago. Because you don't even see Christmas stuff in the stores. I don't know if you noticed this. You go to the hardware stores, it's not Christmas anymore. They've moved everything out.
Oh,
Nothing's
really?
on the shelves. You were expected to do this in October.
Yikes.
Buy all of your stuff. In October, it's already Thanksgiving. And by Thanksgiving, you're supposed to be doing Christmas shit.
Well, traditionally, I put the lights up Thanksgiving weekend, and that didn't happen last weekend because we were having this get-together, a COVID event yesterday at our house.
An anti-vax get-together.
Yeah, 25 people. So there were other things to do except put up Christmas lights. And then Saturday morning, just this last Saturday, my wife said to me, so are you putting up the lights today? And I'm like, it was too early in the morning. It was like 7:30. I'm like, no, that's not on my agenda.
Can't you pay some neighborhood kid to do it?
Well, here's the thing. My neighbors are all paying somebody to put up their lights. So, and they're all younger than me, so fuck them. I'm kind of doing it now just so
to be that old crotchety guy. Like, I'm going to put these lights up.
Yeah, I've got more. I don't know. I think what it really says to them is I'm poorer than you. So I don't know. But they're up, and my legs are, my calves and my thighs are on fire. I virtually sitting up, standing down, walking. It doesn't matter. Any of those activities are extremely painful now for the next day or so.
But so when you woke up that morning, you knew you were going to put up the Christmas lights. Do you do any kind of stretching? Do you any type of resistance bands? Are you doing anything to get yourself physically prepared?
Nothing. No. I didn't even. We had some house guests that went to Disneyland Saturday morning. I took them there and got home from that at about 11:30, and that's when I decided. Up until then, I wasn't even sure I was going to put up lights. We had so many other things to do for this get together, and then I got back, and it's midday. I'm probably feeling as good as I'm going to feel, and I thought, I better put these lights up. So I started doing it. It took me 4 hours. So this is easily. It should take an hour and a half to put these lights up, but I'm slow now. Climbing the ladder is just not that easy. So
now, taking them down, will you just do the one string pull and just yank them off the roof?
They come down pretty easy. I will have to put the ladder up and climb up maybe once because there's a gable in the front of my house. So there's a peak. That peak must be 16 feet up or something. So to get the lights up there, I have to like string them up to the peak and wrap them around the rooster tail coming out the front.
So you're going all the way up.
All the way up to the peak of the gable, yeah. It's just they're straight. There's straight lights on one side, straight lights on the left, on the right, and then there's a gable in the middle. And so to get it to the top of that gable, so most of them I can just pull off and they'll come down. But then I'm going to have to go up because I had to wrap it around that beam, actually, not rooster tail, that beam sticking out at the peak. So they won't come off that probably. So, but that's one thing.
Now, I've seen you, on one step or two steps. Is this going to be the last year that you're going to put these lights up? Don't you think?
Don't know. It depends. I mean, I know last year, this was, for those regular listeners that remember the short period of time, the 3 months or so that I was between Christmas when I got an iWatch and when I went on vacation in March, I was walking pretty regular at home, and part of that was to try to get my legs in shape for the next time I had to do the ladder climbing, because that's what inspired it. Christmas last year, I put the lights, and my legs hurt so bad that I'm like, I've got to do something about this. Well, that wore off. I stopped walking after my vacation. I came back and never walked again. I mean, I walk, but I don't go walking, and so
he's showing me the picture. That looks good.
Yeah, so there's the peak.
Now, underneath that peak, I'm going to describe it here. Yeah. It's kind of right in your entryway.
Yeah.
That's concrete under there?
under the
Like if
the
you
entryway?
fall,
Yeah, it's concrete. Yeah,
that would be kind of dunzo for you.
yeah, yeah. But if I fell from that peak down to the ground, it would still be dunzo or whatever that.
Would that be a good way to go out for you?
No.
I mean, we're all gonna.
No, I don't want the last 3 seconds of my life to be falling through the air.
But it was something, in the spirit of Christmas, and it was the holiday season.
I want to be asleep. I want to die in my sleep thing. I want to go to sleep. I want to go to bed.
What if you fall off the ladder, you injure yourself
in my sleep?
No, you fall off, but you're kind of unconscious. It knocks you out, but you're alive, and then you go to the hospital, and then a day later you die in your sleep.
No, that's good.
I mean, I'm not willing that on you. I don't want that to happen.
Oh my God, I don't know. I've never. I don't think none of that sounds good.
You were talking about that period of time when you got your Apple Watch and your Apple headphones or whatever you got. I was reading something over the weekend that there's some tech fucking guy, I don't know who he is, that in 10 years the iPhone is going to be obsolete. None of us are going to be using iPhones. It's something to do with, what is it? Not virtual reality, augmented reality. Is that a thing?
Yeah, AR. Right. So there's VR, virtual reality. It's where you put on, that's like Oculus, where you put on the things go over your eyes and completely block out everything. And then there's augmented reality where you're wearing something you can see through, but then
like glasses, right?
Yeah. Then there's
like, do you remember when Google tried to do that a couple years ago? Google Glass.
Yeah. You can get them right now from Ray-Ban has some kind of smart glasses now where there's camera and heads-up display and stuff.
Now, is it Google's software?
Not sure. It's Ray-Ban. I think it might be Google. Yeah.
When the Google Glass first came out, this was probably what, 20?
It was a while ago.
14?
The only time I ever saw them in public was I was on a flight to Sacramento, and there were like 6 or 7 geeky 20-something guys.
They all had them?
They all had them. They were all wearing them, and they were going up to Silicon Valley. They were on the flight up to Sacramento, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they look like idiots. But
they do, right? There's only one time I ever saw somebody with those glasses, and there's this little brewery near where I used to live, and I'd go in there on the weekends, and there was another guy who was kind of a regular, and he wore these glasses, and we'd stand at the bar and have a couple of beers, and I couldn't take him seriously. I couldn't look at him. I couldn't have a conversation with him because it was weird. It was like, I don't remember if there's one lens or two lenses, but you could have that like.
The Google Glass was like one lens.
It was one lens, right?
Yeah.
Like a cyborg.
Yeah.
He looked like something out of RoboCop,
Yeah.
and he stood there like it was no big deal, and he was going to talk about the game or whatever. I'm like, dude, I need to leave. I need to move away from you right now.
You're taking my picture constantly.
Right.
I don't like that. I don't think that. I mean, so far wearables has been as a category of merchandise or tech has been a failure. The Apple Watch is the only successful Apple wearable and the only successful wearable that is.
But a lot of wearables like fitness trackers, sleep trackers, those have been a thing for a while.
They are, but they're all inferior to Apple Watch in the sense that Apple Watch has all the other computer stuff on it, right? So, I just don't, it's not, I mean, you're not carrying a bunch of tech in your clothing. You could be, you could be wearing glasses that have tech in it, but we're not really.
So what are you going to do if you don't wear glasses? And to get this augmented reality, you got to wear glasses.
I think
you look like a fuckhead.
I think that's one of the reasons why it's not going to work.
So what's it going to be? I mean, Can you imagine the day when you don't have your iPhone anymore?
I don't know. Over the weekend it's funny you bring this up too, because I was thinking about things like tech that has come and gone over the last many years. Let's just say
many years.
Well, even not so that many years, but things like Blu-ray players. I remember thinking, I had a bunch of DVDs, and then I didn't want to watch them, the ones that weren't Blu-ray anymore, because they weren't good enough. And then I've got all these, and then I had a Blu-ray player in every room, and now I don't even own a Blu-ray player. They've all gone to Goodwill or something. I might have one stashed away somewhere in case of emergency. I have no,
in case the internet goes out.
I have one VHS that's stashed away in a closet somewhere, but that, and then how fast iPods turned into iPhones, and
Right.
And then CDs, how, I was thinking, where do I even have a CD player? And I actually don't. I don't have a CD player hooked up anywhere anymore. I used it for a while. I didn't need a CD player because you could play a CD in your DVD, in your Blu-ray player, but I don't have any of those hooked up anymore. So it's just, I stream everything now. So another collection of software, DVDs, Blu-rays, and CDs that I may never touch again.
Yeah, and that the pace of tech is pretty crazy. Like we were talking about this a couple episodes ago. You were describing this turntable that you had with some fancy needle on it or something.
Right.
And whatever the serial number was, the T100 or whatever.
Gerard 0100.
Yeah, and then, but what I was trying to get at is the advancement in that particular technology from the 100 model to, say, the 200 model probably seemed like an eternity to come out. But now it's like as soon as you buy a phone or whatever, it's already obsolete. Like literally when the new iPhone comes out, which, what are they up to, 13?
13, yeah.
The day the 13 comes out, there's already leaks of the 14. It's like, why the fuck don't I just wait to the 14? Because then there's going to be leaks on the 15.
Do you remember, and this is very recent history, so flat screen digital TVs were pretty much established, and then all of a sudden, it's going to be 3D and curved screens.
Right.
So some of the TVs were 3D, had 3D capabilities, and you had to wear some kind of stupid goggles to watch it. And then there were TVs that had a curved screen. That was a big deal. Curved screen TVs, all gone, right?
They never really weren't they kind of like the laser disc of technology?
Hey, easy on the laser disc.
You lost all your stock.
Early adapter. I remember, and here's the funny thing. So I remember going into Costco, walking in the front door and seeing curved screen, and I had just bought very large flat screen LED, 4K televisions and stuff. And I wasn't about to shake hand those and buy curved screen. And I never had any faith in 3D. 3D has come and gone many times. Theaters, this, that. It's a failure.
It's terrible.
Nobody wants it. It's just it's just a failure. Just let it go. And then but the curved screen wasn't really 3D, but it's supposed to give you some kind of weird effect. And, you just let that go too, right? And so it's all gone. Now, I mean, virtually, I don't think you could find a 3D or curved screen TV in the biggest, Fry's is gone, so you can't even go there.
You don't even need it. Like, do you remember, like you said, 3D is terrible. Jaws 3, I think, was in 3D. Captain EO at Disneyland. And it was like the 3D parts were only, to get the images close to you, but the quality of the images were terrible.
Yeah, and here's the thing. So I don't know if you've ever seen any of the TV shows that it'll be like how your brain interprets things, how your brain can fill in information that's not really there, things like that. How through our eyes we interpret, the things, our reality through our vision, that color is just really there's no color anywhere. It's just how light is refracting off things and is interpreted by our brain.
Is this a racist thing?
No. Be colorblind. And then, so the truth of it is that when you watch a 70-inch, high definition TV, 4K TV, there's a lot of information there, right? And your brain actually, you forget that it's not three-dimensional, and your brain actually fills in the three-dimensional part for you, and you get a better, more satisfying, less irritative and interruptive form of 3D just from more information coming into your eyes, and your brain will then create the fact that this object in the picture you're watching is closer to you than that object over there. Those trees in the far distance, your brain is kind of creating the whole interpretation of the 3D. You don't need it jammed on your brain, because remember how your remember how your vision works, right? You can look at this something like there's a microphone right in front of me, and when I'm looking across the table at you, there's virtually two microphones down in the bottom of my vision. But when I look down at it, it comes into one. Your eyes want to do that all the time, and your brain wants to do that. So when you watch 3D and it's trying to do it artificially for you, it doesn't work, and it makes you go, "Fuck, what is this?"
It's like it reminds me of remember the little script that used to be on the mirrors of your car? The objects in the mirror appear closer than they are, or whatever. They've abandoned that, right? I haven't seen that in a while.
I don't know. That's a good question. I'll immediately go out and check though on my way out of here.
I don't know, but the pace of tech is crazy, and it's like we've talked a lot about tech and the advancements and the benefits it brings to society. And I mean, for the most part, I'm all for it because there's a lot of consolidation, if you want to look at it that way. Like your phone nowadays can do, the role of at least five different devices, maybe more that calculator and music player and all that other shit, right? So
yeah.
It's cool to embrace it, but it gets exhausting. It gets exhausting to try to keep up with everything.
Well, when your phone is, when you were saying that you read something about your iPhone's going to be obsolete, what's going to replace it?
I don't know.
Chip in the head, or
yes.
What are we talking
Whatever
about?
this thing in the COVID vaccine is, that's going to take time to grow inside your body, and then that'll be the augmented reality.
Oh my God. and they would be giving that away to us for free.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Because then they're going to give us a taste of it, and then we're going to like it, and then you have to subscribe. That's where they get you. Everything is subscription based.
Sort of like streaming.
Yes, it'll be streaming.
We just added, thank you, Brian and Sheila, for this. We just added Paramount streaming service to our myriad numbers.
What do you got to pay for that one?
We're stealing it.
Oh, you're stealing.
Yeah,
okay,
that's why
very good of you.
Had to thank Brian and Sheila because they are allowing us to. They signed us into theirs, so that's how that works.
Was it like $5 or something?
Don't know. They didn't charge us anything, so I don't know what it costs.
Yeah, there's inflation, so you might get a bill for $10.
So it's good. It's got the current. It's CBS, right? Is really what it is. Paramount is owned by CBS.
Yeah, so I can't even keep up.
It's got the Star Treks and all that stuff on it. So
the stuff nobody watches.
No, that's Peacock. That's on Channel 4. So we have Peacock. We have Paramount. And Debbie pays for Peacock. I don't watch it, but she pays for it. And now we have this Paramount. And so nothing from ABC, but I don't know of anything on ABC that's worth a shit anymore. Used to be home of all the must-see TV stuff, but it's like home of nothing now. I don't know.
It is.
I don't know what's on ABC.
I rarely watch TV, but for the longest time, my wife and I would settle in for the evening and, watch the home improvement shows or
right.
You
don't do that anymore? You don't watch television together?
We haven't watched TV other than, we'll watch movies with the kids. This weekend we watched Christmas Vacation and, I think A Christmas Story we watched yesterday.
Can you get your kids to sit down and watch a movie?
Yeah, they love that shit. They're really into. They want to find out about the shit that we liked as kids, or when we were young, or in the olden days, as my daughter will call it. What did you guys watch? And they're really into that. But other than that, we don't watch anything. I will watch live sports when there's something I want to see.
Right.
But other than that, I watch nothing. There's nothing on.
You don't go watch those live sports on your iPad or something?
Sometimes I will, but
yeah,
I mean...
It's amazing I have giant TV. I have really small TVs, right? I mean, my phone is even smaller than your phone, right? It's an SE, but I rarely watch any kind of entertainment on my phone, but I do have an iPad mini. I have watched a couple things on there. Debbie watches shows on her regular size iPad constantly. Right. She doesn't.
Yeah, and I'll do that. Sometimes I'll, watch a show in the afternoon or read something.
So Debbie bought a deal at Costco. So we have a 55-inch television mounted on the wall in
small
our bedroom,
one, huh?
Right.
Yeah, that's small these days.
I know, and but when it's on, it casts a lot of light in the room, especially when some advertisement comes on and the screen goes white and then I can, it burns through my eyelids, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm dreaming I'm in snow or something, right? So we have really moved away from running that television at all. So I will often put on my headphones and just listen to music, go to sleep, or listen to a podcast, go to sleep like that. Debbie was just like, has her iPad on the bed, and she's got that hooked into our streaming service, so she would watch something. But she bought at Costco this stand for her iPad. So envision this. You've got a stand with a very heavy base that sits on the floor, and then it's got a neck that comes up and curves, and it holds your iPad.
Jesus.
In front of your face, right, floating in the air.
So that is why you would need something like augmented reality. Do I need this giant stand?
You can't sleep with your glasses on.
Why not?
I mean, maybe if you get some kind of goggle thing or something.
Or be contacts in your eyeballs.
Oh my God, that's.
So I'm picturing like a hospital tray or something that's next to you, and it like comes over your bed and.
Okay, except yeah, it's a very heavy base so that it sits on the floor and that provides all the ballast, right? And then it's a thin neck that comes up. It's a tube until it gets up like way above your bed, and then it's a flexible neck that you just kind of bend, and then you just put it in. Then there's a holder for your iPad on the end of it, and so virtually you're laying flat on the bed, and the iPad is floating above your face in midair.
I mean, it sounds convenient.
Oh, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. It's a lot better than having the television on, which throws light all around the room. This thing really is very directional. And so she bathes her face in blue light. I just don't like that anymore. I don't want that anymore. I like sound, but I don't want to see pictures.
To tweak that, I would design like some kind of headgear, like the old school braces headgear, with some type of contraption that comes off that holds your iPad out in front of your face. Maybe it's the hard hat helmet with the beer cans or something. There's got to be some easy way to do it.
I'll take a picture of it and show you so you have a good idea. So, but don't be surprised when, one shows up at your house or something.
Yes,
she didn't get it at Costco. She got it on Amazon. That's right.
It sounds like she got it on the As Seen on TV aisle. When you check out at the stores.
I know. I was like, what in the hell is this? She goes, hey, can you help me put this together? And it wasn't very complicated, but that's what that's part of the husband duties. Anything that screws together or snaps together.
Yeah, that's on you.
You're supposed to be involved in. So so that's tech is just everywhere. I mean, our bedroom is full of it. I have my techie headphones. I have, I have a set of pretty advanced Bose headphones. I have a set of iPod Air Max, the giant square headphones from Apple. Very intuitive, automatically hook up with any Apple device that it comes close to. It's like clings onto it and hooks up to it. I use them to watch TV in my front room. I have an Apple TV, which is our streaming device of choice that we run all the streaming services through. And that when I'm watching TV that's hooked up to an Apple TV, it accesses my iPod earphones, your AirPods or whatever, anything Apple, and it streams all the music off my phone flawlessly and everything. So there's a lot of tech around.
How much tech do you think our president is using, or how much tech do you think they use on the president? Like, are they jolting his heart every 6 hours or something to keep him alive?
So like Frankenstein.
Do you think that, I'm being serious now.
Yeah.
Do you think that,
sure you are.
Do you think that they check on him during the night? Like,
I do not.
Maybe you don't?
No. Well, I think Jill Biden is their check on him. Hey, if he croaks off in the middle of the night, phone us.
Do you think she's like on a, there's like Trump had the Diet Coke button in the Oval Office. Do you think Jill
I was not aware of that?
Do you think
funny.
Jill has like a green button by the nightstand, like every 3 hours, Mrs. Biden, please push the button, let us know he's still breathing?
Oh, I'm pretty sure he's wearing First Alert.
Is that the thing when you fall?
Yeah. I've fallen and I can't get up.
I mean, they obviously, the president really, we've talked about this, is never really alone, and unless you're getting a blowjob or something. But other than that, I mean, do you think they're worried about his health more so than, with Obama, it's probably like, hey, we'll see you in the morning when you want to go jogging. We won't worry about you. But,
I heard something I didn't fully, because I don't care that much, but he was when he took office, he was older than the oldest president was when he left office.
Right. That was Reagan.
Did I say that right?
I think so. I knew what you meant.
Yeah. So, hey, good for him. He seems to be in good health, and he's got a cold or something right now, so everybody's losing their fucking mind over that.
Yeah, well, he's out spreading his cold and he's maskless, and he's maybe got the Omicron and he's breathing on people.
There's a lot of talk about is there sensitivity from the White House toward anybody inferring that he's a one-term president, that that he never planned on running for a second term, or let's think about it. Buttigieg has been. When was the last time, if ever, can you remember even one transportation secretary that you ever fucking heard of in your whole life? Buttigieg he's the most visible cabinet member there is. And I think he's just being queued up to be the next president. He's very popular. He's gay.
What do you mean by visible? Like the stories about him?
Yeah. So they passed the infrastructure thing. So it's Biden and Harris and Buttigieg running around the country promoting what a great deal this infrastructure thing is. And as the Secretary of Transportation, but, it's been a while since any president passed any kind of substantial infrastructure bill, so that's part of it. But still, there's been a transportation secretary in every administration. I challenge anybody to remember the name of even one.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but I wonder how much of that is circumstantial. Like you said,
during the Trump administration, there was Choo Choo Charlie. He was
who's Choo Choo Charlie?
Choo Choo Charlie was an engineer, and he'd do what to your sister for a bottle of beer. You don't know who Choo Choo Charlie is? No, that was the Trump Secretary of Transportation. So
did he stick around the whole time?
I don't know who it was. I'm making that up, obviously.
With all the turnover, who can keep track? Well, that's the thing about the Trump years is you never bothered to get to know anybody because they weren't going to be there very long.
Well, did you hear about? I know how much you don't care for Harris, Vice President Harris.
Yes.
So you hear about high profile, although I've never heard of any of them, staff leaving her.
I love this story because I just do not like her at all, and I want to go back to the Buttigieg thing too. But Harris and Buttigieg were two presidential candidates.
Right.
And so they're not just, obscure career politicians that were tapped by the Biden administration to serve in the cabinets. They actually ran to try to take the job for themselves. But Harris, if I'm not mistaken, was like the first one to bow out because she just wasn't going to advance.
You said that a bunch of times, and I'll take your word for it. I don't really remember. It does seem like, all of that is kind of a blur.
It's a blur.
Once he announced, and then once he won a couple of primaries, that was the end of it. Everybody.
But remember how? There were so many fucking ridiculous Democrats that on the debates they had like 2 or 3 days worth of debates because there were so many of them. And then they would separate them to the A list and to the B list, and then after a while,
I think it's amazing that it was only the destruction of the economy and the sheer overblown bullshit of Trump himself that, by all intents and purposes, no Democrat should have won. It was such a fractured mess of a circus of a primary season, right? And too many people, right? But out of the same kind of messed up Republican primary season that during the year that Trump won, it was the same thing. There were 18 Republican running for office. Remember Jeb Bush? And
I don't remember the number,
Herman
but yeah,
Cain,
I remember it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. Fuck Chris Christie. Everybody was running. And you're like, oh no, this is gonna fracture there nobody, and he won, and then the Democrats turned around and remember that during that primary that Hillary ran, she was the only one. There was one other guy, but nobody ever heard of him. I couldn't remember his name now.
Yeah, so that's interesting because the amount of people that were running. Where the fuck were your people on the gatekeeping process? They should have told these people, "Hey, man, wait your turn. You got another couple cycles before we can put you up there."
I think I've come to the opinion that people push back against any kind of political campaign for president that appears to be a coronation rather than a run for the seat, right? So I think the fact that many Democrats ran for the nomination, that I think people like that. And the fact that Biden came out on top, that was fine. It just all seemed right to them, as opposed to the Hillary situation, which in retrospect, the whole fucking thing seemed like a coronation.
It did, yeah, no doubt. And I think the reason Biden ultimately won is because there were so many bad choices on the Democratic side, and the crazy left of left progressives were getting louder and louder, and there were more of them. I mean, just a few cycles ago, it was just Bernie Sanders, but now you have Elizabeth Warren and whoever the other fucking crazies are, I don't know. And so it was, hey, we got to get Uncle Joe out, dust him off, because he's like this fatherly figure. He's got credibility as a career politician. He's been in the White House. And I mean, I just think it was bad timing because he was past his prime.
Well,
but he was the best choice of that whole group.
Well, it came down to, I think it's pretty well agreed upon now that what it came down to for Democratic voters was who was the most assured to beat Trump. And Joe Biden was the one that had the best chance of doing that. I think there were a lot of Democratic voters or non-Republican voters or whatever that, you know, a lot of people like Bernie, a lot of people like Pete Buttigieg, right? He came out of nowhere and national.
Well, he was a governor, right?
He was a mayor, Mayor Pete.
Oh, that's right. Of he was some town in Indiana.
Some shit town, yeah. I can't even remember the name of it. And
would you tell?
He's phenomenal.
Would you tell Mayor Pete to his face that his town is shit?
Well, I'm not afraid of him, if that's what you mean.
Well, I mean, I think you could take him if that's what you're saying, but I mean,
I don't know. You know, he served in the military, so he's had, you know, he's a trained killer, and I'm just a big blabbermouth. So,
but he, I mean, go back to the Harris thing, which I do think that she was one of the first to bow out. I think Pete made it a lot further than she did. And the reason that she quit is because her numbers were terrible. People could not see her at all as a viable option for president. And of course, she ends up being the vice president, I think, for political reasons, let's face it. And early on, when Biden became the front runner, of course, I believe he said it's going to be a woman, and which we all knew. And then it was scary, like, oh shit, could it be Elizabeth Warren? So he ends up picking Harris.
Not all of us were scared about that.
Well, we dodged a bullet. Let's put it that way. But I do love hearing the stories about how terrible she's doing and that her staff wants to quit, because I do just hate her.
Oh God, there's. Well, then these should be good times for you. Right? It should be the best of times. These are the best of times. These are the worst of times. Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
are they going to swap her out and put Pete in there?
No, for 2024.
Yeah,
I think they're going to swap out Biden and put Pete in there. I don't know. I don't think it. And then Chaz, his husband's going to run for vice president.
Is he in politics?
No, he's not.
Is that his name, Chaz?
Chaz, yeah. I think that. I mean, here's the thing about Buttigieg, right? I mean, he's going to be the president someday. I'm pretty sure of that. I can just feel it. Whether it's this time or not.
Well, they do say that a woman will be president.
Well, that's.
I'm kidding. Wow. Come on. I haven't worked one in a
while. Send your comments to Travis at homophobe.net.
Let me ask you a serious follow-up to that, though.
Yeah.
Could
there be such a thing?
There is. It's important, I think, that a woman becomes president of this country for a lot of reasons. And there's been a lot of talk about that and momentum and progress in the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years.
Well, I'm pushing for Angela Merkel.
Well, she served for what, like 16 years as Chancellor of Germany.
She's available.
She is available. But she's not a citizen, I don't think.
Oh, damn. Well, she could be vice president then.
Can she?
Yeah, I think so.
But would it be, what's the word? Is it a slap in the face? Would it be wrong if, say, Buttigieg, and nothing against him, but if a gay man becomes president before a woman in this country, when it just looked like that was the path, right? We are going to get to a point where a woman becomes president. It was almost the coronation of Hillary, like you said, and then maybe it looks like it could be a Pete situation before a female. Is that bad for
Well,
females?
I mean, probably the most qualified female that won't trigger you into the stratosphere is probably Amy Klobuchar. I don't know that she could win a general election.
Not yet, right? She doesn't have enough exposure.
She's no spring chicken either. So, but we'll see. I mean, she is probably the most qualified woman politician. Just don't know. I just don't know. There's things I know a lot about her. So it makes me think that a lot of other people would, but I don't know.
How old is she?
She looks to me like she's in her late 50s, probably. But she just, I don't know. I mean, she ran too. She was up there too. So she's an also ran as well. So we'll see. I think Warren would meet with some pretty significant headwinds, but it turns out that maybe Harris is probably just not progressive enough for what, for the current version of the Democratic Party. I mean, she was never a progressive, right? Her record as a prosecutor certainly was not one of a progressive. I mean, it's hard to be a prosecutor and be what we call a progressive or a liberal, right? So he never really was. So, hard to say. I don't know what her future is.
Why do you think she's not progressive enough? In other words, Biden, he's not like left progressive. So why would she
talking about
need to
going
be?
forward? I mean, I think for the 2020 election, the Republican nominee, the only thing that really mattered was that nominee's ability to beat Trump, and that came out to be Joe Biden heads and shoulders above anybody else, including Harris or Buttigieg or anybody. And so now he's out, and hopefully he's not coming back. And going forward now, I think that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has grown, and I don't think they're going to take over. It's not going to go crazy or something. I'm trying to keep Travis from jumping off the ledge.
Appreciate that.
Talking him down here, but I do think, in response to what has been an ever increasing right wing kind of movement in the country, that Democrats and progressives or liberals or however you want to label them there's growing there's growing resistance to that very to that right wing growth, that was exemplified by Trump. Trump didn't really cause it, like we talked about. He was the symptom, but I think in response to that right wing movement that we've seen, I think that, the progressive side of the Democratic Party is getting stronger. So I think when we look forward, the next candidate won't have to be who can knock Trump out of office. Trump won't be an incumbent. If he is a candidate, he'll be an easy target, I think.
See, I think that I'm hopeful, like you say, not to talk me off the ledge. I'm hopeful that the American people don't want the progressives of the Democratic Party to be the platform and to be the voice of how we move forward in this country. And I would be willing to bet that if Biden was 4, 5, 8 years younger, that he, so far, I would go out on a limb and say this now, that he would easily win re-election in 24.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
it's in jeopardy because of his age and his health and maybe what's happening with his vice president. But I think with Harris, I don't know. I would push back maybe a little bit on the fact that she's not progressive enough. I think she's suffering from the same thing that got Hillary, ultimately, which is she's just not relatable. She doesn't appear to be relatable. She doesn't appear to be in touch, and she just has this holier than thou elitist kind of attitude that I just don't think resonates with people.
Yeah, you very possibly are right. I mean, I think it's a weird combination of things that have to coalesce for someone to win a general election, to be that person. Look, to her credit, she is a woman of color. She's a woman. She's broken two very long time glass ceilings. She's accomplished a lot. I don't think I mean, if I was her, I would be very happy with that. Does she want to be president? I mean, I don't know. I don't understand that motivation.
Well, she ran.
So I mean, obviously she's somewhere, she covets that position, but if it doesn't turn that she, is the next Democratic nominee, or she doesn't end up in the role through some kind of unfortunate health issue with Biden or something, then maybe she's done enough. I mean, she has been a leader for her sex, for her party, for all of that stuff, right? Without being any kind of radical fringe.
So you're saying she should go away after this?
She can.
Because I would agree with that.
She can if she wants.
She's done enough?
I wouldn't be disappointed one way or the other. Because, I mean, frankly, for me, the only politician out there that I have any real interest in seeing progress would be Pete Buttigieg, because he's just the smartest guy out there, right? He's heads and shoulders intellectually above all the rest of them.
So you didn't exactly answer my question.
What?
Does this country, let me frame it another way.
Oh, is it going to be a problem if a gay man becomes president before a
woman? So maybe to reframe it, does this country owe it to a woman to elect a woman as president first before any other person or sex or race, in this case, a gay man?
I mean, it doesn't. I like Pete Buttigieg not because he's gay, right? And I like the policy. When I hear him speak about policy, I like his way. I just like the way he goes about it. But I don't think that this is like the window, where we need to elect a gay man president. I don't think that's part of the calculus for me at all.
How old is he? Did you say?
Pete Buttigieg is his late 40s or early 50s. I'm not sure. And he's got a lot of time. I mean, he can run. There's 20 years where he could run, right? I think easily. So he can, it's a meteoric rise when you look at it. He came from nowhere in the 2020 election to and he's the national figure now.
How long had he been mayor?
I don't know, a while.
Of the shit town that you speak of.
Nobody ever heard of him. Yeah, prior to him running for president, I don't think anybody had ever heard of him.
Yeah, I remember like on the debates, it was like we have so and this senator, and that
Nobody
senator, and this dude, this little town podunk Mayor Pete.
Well, and Mayor Pete is because his last name is hard to say, and so, I mean, that seemed like that was working against him. But then that's the thing that made him stick in everybody's mind. Oh, this guy's got this weird last name, and then if you did learn how to pronounce it like I did, you're proud of it. So now you want him to be the president, so you can show off that you can say you can roll off Pete Buttigieg off your list.
It's not that hard to say, but he was on my radar for a while before I knew he was gay.
Yes.
And maybe you told me, I don't know.
Yeah.
But do you think, because it's out there, right? It's a factor, and I'm just trying to wrap it around this question of mine, and that is, would the Democrats try to dig up, and I think this is where you were going when you were screening. I'm going to turn the TV off if you can't.
All right,
if you can't drool with the CNBC anchors. If anyone on here you want to see as vice president or president?
No, maybe an intern.
Okay, Monica.
You can call her Monica. I don't care. I just I just don't know what his future is. I mean, I'm sure he wanted to be president. I think he wants to be president. I think he wants to serve. He's obviously been interested in serving the country. His military service is self-explanatory for that. I think that we're in a time and a place where I don't think that him being gay is necessarily a knockout punch or anything like that.
But it is a factor, right? Don't you think? In other words,
well, it's a factor for a bunch of people.
But it's a factor for a bunch of reasons. So hear me out on this. Maybe this is a stretch, but it almost makes him. And I don't really know much about his accomplishments, so I'm not going to criticize. I'm not going to compliment. But you and I both know that the crazies on the right would attack him any chance they got, and most certainly for being gay. But being gay, of course, is not something that you can or should be attacked for ever, right? So it almost gives him a little bit of kryptonite in the sense like anybody who attacks him for being gay, it directly exposes them as being a fuckhead.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and listen, Obama got through 8 full years of being the president and all the campaigning the 2 years before that. So let's say 10 years of having pictures, caricatures drawn in right-wing publications of him as a monkey. I mean, that kind of shit just doesn't necessarily stick. And like, I think it does exactly what you say. It exposes the critics of that particular person for what they are. Racist, homophobic, or whatever their problem is. That's not picking up public support the way it might have at one time.
And just like the technology conversation, we talk about how quickly things evolve, and we've cited this too. But even Obama, our beloved Obama, it took him, I think, into his second term before he publicly endorsed same-sex marriage. And good for him, he finally came around. But let's not forget, that wasn't that long ago, really. And so what I mean is, society, for the most part, is advancing the way that it should, at the pace that it should, maybe a little too slow. But something tells me, and you probably would agree with me, that the really, the zealots on the right, let's call them the Jesus freaks on the right, would still have a problem with a gay man being president.
Well, I mean, so to move to segue into something else I think would be worth talking about with you is, I mean, are you following what's going on with the Supreme Court and
is this the my foot in my mouth segment of the show? I
don't know. I mean, I don't think that's not where I'm going with it, but you let your conscience be your guide. I just think that it's pathetic, really. So we're going to see. I mean, we're probably next June. You're probably going to see Roe versus Wade overturned or neutralized or something by the present stacked court.
So
and what's going to happen? I mean, maybe it'll be a great thing. I mean, and this affects everything we're talking about right now. So you have this abortion issue, which is being driven by the religious right, and you're seeing the fruition of a very long-term strategy on the part of Republicans to overturn Roe versus Wade and outlaw abortion, right? And who would have thunk it in this day and age, right? You talk about things progressing, and
I think that's exactly how I said it. Who would have thunk it?
Who would have thunk it? You often quote the Three Stooges. So I think that it's hard to say, right? I mean, so they're in their prime right now. They're getting everything they should be.
Who's in their
parties? Prime? Well, the right wing, right? Republicans and
you think, or is this the Hail Mary, the last hurrah, the last attempt?
Oh, no, I think this is the result of a carefully calculated 50-year strategy to overturn Roe versus Wade.
But go back to how you teed this up, though. What you were saying is referencing the Supreme Court, which is a lot of the stories over the last week or two are the reports from the various justices that they are signaling that they could possibly overturn Roe versus Wade. They could side with Mississippi and Texas.
The fact that they took this case, the Mississippi case, if they really did not want to overturn Roe versus Wade, if there really wasn't the conservative majority in the Supreme Court now that wants to overturn Roe versus Wade, it would only have taken a couple of them to side against taking this case on. Taking it on, period, indicates that they want to overturn it.
So did the quote-unquote liberal justices vote to not take the case? Is that how that works?
I think so.
So procedurally, if they...
I mean, in the words of Sotomayor, right, is the Supreme Court going to survive the stench of overturning Roe versus Wade that this will create? And by that, she means, so are they about to prove that if you if you put conservative justices on the court, that you can overturn a 50-year established law and take rights away from people. Serious stuff.
And that would be, listen, I'm on record, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I'm on record saying that I don't think they'll overturn it. And Kavanaugh in particular, I think he could be, can you impeach a justice? I think you can, right? We talked about that. But during his confirmation, they really tried to press him on this matter, and all potential justices get in this habit of trying to say, hey, I didn't hear that case, so I can't comment on it. But he did. There's one soundbite of him that I think really pins him to his decision, and he said he considers Roe versus Wade settled law. If it's settled law, then you can't go back and undo it. It's done. It's 50 years in the making, like you said.
Here's the thing, right? There are some subtle things going on here, right? One possible outcome of the Mississippi case is that in June we'll see an outright overturning of Roe versus Wade, where a majority of justices, the majority opinion, will say, hey, Roe was bad law. The Casey case that came 20 years later was bad law. All bad, and we're overturning it.
Let me stop you there. Procedurally, what does that mean? They overturn it, so therefore they're
going to vote for the Mississippi law because they feel that the only thing that stops the Mississippi law from being legitimate is Roe versus Wade and the following case 20 years later.
Because they're not hearing Roe versus Wade.
No, they're not. But they may just come out and say, hey, we're not going to stop this Mississippi law, and we're gonna let them move the goalpost, the time.
So how do you do one without the other? If they say that we're going to let the Mississippi law stand, right, which is in direct conflict with Roe versus Wade,
right,
then how do they address the issue that Roe versus Wade is the law of the land and that Mississippi's in direct conflict with it?
They will. It will be them changing Roe versus Wade.
And can you do that without hearing it?
Yeah, I mean,
don't you have to peel it, like retry it or whatever you call it?
I don't think so. But then there could be so then that doesn't have to be the outcome, right? The outcome of this doesn't have to be that this Supreme Court comes out and overtly denounces Roe versus Wade, and they could simply come out and say, hey, we no longer believe that the 28-week third trimester is viability standard is the standard. We believe that 15 weeks is as viable a standard, is as good a standard as the viability standard of 28 weeks. That will effectively open the floodgates for every state that wants to make their own state laws, cite different amount of time. It could be more, it could be less. And that will do the same thing. So, I mean, the chances that we come out of this court decision with this court in June with what Roe versus Wade has done is prevented states from passing state laws that would inhibit a woman from obtaining an abortion prior to 28 weeks. And so, they may, the way they go about this, it's just going to be a matter of how it's politically accepted. The effect will be the same. So you can count on it. It's gone.
So what the sound bites that we're referring to, that we're hearing, like what's being leaked from the justices, they're saying things like, hey, we're open to it. The conservative justices, we're open to hearing it. Or
it's the questions they ask
that are casting doubt.
The oral arguments. Yeah, I don't believe there's been any off the record statements by any of them. That would be very unusual. But the questions that were asked during the oral arguments, that's what's causing the speculation that this court is going to virtually overturn it. So, I mean, that's next June, and then you'll have two states that will, and assuming they don't deal with the Texas thing at all, although they could deal with this Mississippi thing and still come back and squelch the Texas thing because of the what do you call it, the the public being able to sue people,
Standing.
right? The bounty, the standing issue for the public and this and that.
And what is the primary reason cited by the conservatives? Do you know why the U.S. government needs to prevent women from having an abortion? It's Jesus, right? It has to be Jesus.
It is. It is, to the best of my understanding, the people that want to see abortion stopped by government mandate through state laws or any kind of laws, that the basis for their objection is a religious based, argument about it and the sanctity of life. But it's all very hypocritical, right? I mean, these are the same people that it's just hard to hear people argue about the right to life, in this instance, when their positions on other political things seem to be so anti-life, like the death penalty, right? Right. So,
or the Second Amendment, taking life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and they're getting called out on that on a pretty regular basis. So we'll have to see.
Or the other one, that giving the child up for adoption is a viable means of not, what do they say, not caring for the child through life. But that's fucking irrelevant.
Amy Comey Barrett, right? Is that her name?
Yes.
She is the one that really, in her questioning about, well, haven't things changed since 50 years ago when Roe versus Wade, and then 20 years ago, Casey versus whatever the hell it was, the second case, right? Haven't things changed? For instance, there's a name for them, but child abandonment, the laws where you can drop off your kid in the mail chute of your local fire department with no problems, no issues, right?
You can or you can't do that.
You can. So most places have laws that say, hey, rather than putting your kid in a dumpster and your unwanted child in a dumpster to where they can die a horrific death, underneath the garbage in the dumpster.
Drop them off with the firemen.
Yeah, drop them off with the firemen.
They'll help out with the cooking and cleaning.
In person or at night, there's a mail chute or something you can dump the kid down. That means that, okay, well, now that that's in place, we should take away rights from women.
Yeah, and to me, that's the biggest conflict. When you talk about, the Bill of Rights, for example, and the Constitution guarantees you rights of protection that your government can't infringe upon or take away from you, right? In general.
Yeah.
So now we have the direct opposite of that, which is you have a government who is now going to take away a right of yours and force you. So it's nuanced here, because on one hand it's taking away your right to an abortion, but the flip side to look at that is it's forcing a woman to carry that child to term and give birth. So it's so fucking cockamamie to me. I don't get it. Makes me mental.
I would like to see reliable statistics, as far as how many women out of 100% of women in the country, how many of them are anti-abortion rights? How many of them would favor taking this right to choose away from women?
And that's what it is.
I'm sure there are women that are in favor of taking it away, and I'm sure that most of that is based on some kind of religious belief, I guess. But as a group, I think that women should be offended that once again, men, for the most part, are in the process of taking away their rights. And I just don't know how they stand. So you said something earlier, Travis, that is this the I told you so segment or something like foot in the mouth?
Yeah.
It's not, because what I remember you saying was that you didn't think that Roe would be overturned or whatever. And I'm not looking to debate that. Like we said, that's nuance, right? I mean, you can neutralize Roe versus Wade without overturning Roe versus Wade. So let's say that never happens, but then it becomes a law that's not enforceable because of other more recent Supreme Court decisions. But I think what else I remember you saying was that if it did get overturned, that people would rise up and do something about it and stop that from happening. So there's no way to know whether that's the case yet or not. So I think that hopefully what'll depend is when the decision comes next June from the Supreme Court, and it's bad, and it will be, that sparks a new wave of protests and activism among Democrats, probably for the most part, and women and secular people that don't believe that we should have religious beliefs shoved down our throat, especially codified in law.
Yeah, I think it has to be. It has to be, and that's so. Go all the way back. I mean, you're right. We were talking about the confirmation of these three justices. The whole point was that it would culminate in this, right?
Yeah.
And I said, even if they pass it, people will rise up in the streets.
Why was I so upset about rushing nominations through, not allowing Obama to put his nomination up?
But I never saw this angle, I have to say. I never saw the angle, and I remember saying at the time, the Supreme Court isn't hearing that case. And I would cite, Kavanaugh's quote, it's settled law. I never thought, leave it to Texas, leave it to Mississippi to go around the back door and try what they did. But to me, this is, like you said, rise up. This is, to me, COVID is bullshit. The lockdowns are bullshit. Forcing businesses to close are bullshit. This, to me, is at another level. And it doesn't affect me in the way that the COVID bullshit did, because I'm not a woman. But this is one of those things in this day and age, in 2021, with the authoritarian government ideologies around the world, this is slippery slope. You don't get this one back if we fuck it up.
It could be gone for a long. Could you get it back? You can't. It could be gotten back, but it could take a very long time. And in fact, it could take the lifetime of somebody's daughter to get it back, if or never or not. Right? It just seems like a slide backward into a different time. It just seems backward. It's regressive. It's just stupid.
And the other thing, and again, I really do believe this is all Jesus' fault. And we've talked about this too, that the amount of people in this country that identify as, religious or I guess Christian based, the whole Jesus crowd, is diminishing every time you read a study. The numbers are less and less. So it just seems strange to me that this is the thing that's important that we solve right now.
Well,
this is the thing. This is how we get on the other side of, again, never mind COVID or infrastructure or whatever. This is a dawning of a new age. It's 2021. We have tech. We have climate issues. We have natural resource issues. We have trade issues. These are all, the world is much smaller than people like to think. And so we have much bigger issues. And yet in the United States, we have two conservative states that think the most important thing, because they're not Jesus-y enough, is to take away abortion rights. What the fuck are we doing?
And then there's 20 other states.
How much could we get for Mississippi if is there a buyer that's interested? How much would China pay for Mississippi?
Check in with Saudi Arabia.
Would we take crypto?
Here's the thing.
For a trade.
There's 20 states that are going to follow. And they're just waiting for this decision. I don't think much is going to happen between now and June in regards to this, but 20 other states. Once it's known what SCOTUS is going to decide on this.
Is this the new Civil War? Will these 20 states attempt to secede, and is that the start of the new Civil War?
No, they're not going to attempt to succeed. They've worked for 50 years to change the face of the court so that they could get the court to make a politically motivated decision.
And so the court,
abortion.
let's say the court does, and then you have 20 some odd states that say, "Hey, we do it one way."
It has always been the conservatives and the Republicans that have whined about politically packing the court, and they are the ones. While they've been, this has been the biggest bait and switch in history, right? We are to blame again for this, right? We were asleep as Democrats, as not Republicans, as citizens. We were asleep while we let the country elect this idiot and then put in three
but who thought he
judges.
was going to get 3 chances in one term?
Well, I mean,
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
We talked about it so many times.
Listen, and I'm not blaming Ruth, but remember, she thought that Hillary was going to win. And she wanted to retire on Hillary's watch as kind of an homage, two powerful women. And then Hillary didn't win. She's like, oh, fuck. I'm not going to make it.
I'm not going to make it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Brierly, right? He's senile. So he has stayed as well. And probably when you go back and look at some of the discussion about this, the things he said during the oral arguments, they didn't help us, right? I mean, and so, it comes back to the question, should he have got the fuck off of there so that somebody, so that Biden could appoint somebody to take his place while there's a chance? Because he's likely to last just long enough for some Republican to get back into power, right? Or flip
aren't they
the Senate.
talking to him? Like,
well,
is that a thing? Can you do that? Is
What?
that like a conflict to have the parties talk to the justices and encourage them to, hey, maybe you better.
Well, I mean,
is that illegal to do that?
It's not illegal, no, but it's it's frowned upon, and,
Well-
and you can very often get the opposite effect, right? You just can't. I mean, Brierly might be an example of that. I mean, where he might have retired already, some of the talk swirling about, hey, time for him to go, may have been the reason why he stayed past when he probably should have.
But this, by the way, is the main reason why I was never in favor of an idea of stacking the court, quote unquote, either way, because it's just a number. If you do that, to me, you're just extending the period of time where bad laws are going to remain bad laws. So let's say the tables were turned and you had 15 justices, mostly conservative, and then you overturn this Roe v. Wade thing, you're talking like 150 years of reverse progress.
So the Supreme Court, I think we're in for quite an extended period of a much more conservative court. As far as Kavanaugh, I mean, the chances of could he get impeached? I don't know.
Could you buy him? Like, could Budweiser come in there and like give him shares in the beer company and would to buy his vote?
I like beer. I think that I don't want to relitigate any of this, but I'll just quickly review that. I think it was very wrong what happened with Amy Coney Barrett's nomination being rushed through, especially in face of the fact that the same Senate Majority Leader prevented President Obama from nominating his final pick more than a year out. It's just all of that is water under the bridge now, past history. I think now it's time to see. Maybe people will wake up.
Do you think of the three conservative justices that were put in place on Trump's watch, is she the biggest threat? Do you think? Who's the first guy?
Gorsuch.
Gorsuch, yes.
Yeah, you
don't hear too much about him.
He's conservative, but he's just one. I mean, I think the galling thing, two things that gall me about this situation. One, Kavanaugh not qualified. And
why not?
Because he just didn't have enough. He just didn't have enough experience. And
years on the bench.
Yeah, and
what was it? I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's not. He just wasn't even on the fucking list, right? Of people. So
where and why did they dig him up then?
Because he campaigned for it, right?
And why did he jump ahead and leapfrog over Amy Coney Barrett?
Oh, well, I don't think she was.
I thought she wasn't
part of it she wasn't part of it when Kavanaugh. I mean, she wasn't one of the names.
But wasn't she the protege of Antonin Scalia? She was a name that people knew, I thought. I
don't remember that, but maybe. I mean, yeah, it's just unfortunate. I mean, I think maybe. Well, I mean, it's going to this result with the abortion issue will just be the first of a bunch of bad decisions you're going to see, and we'll just have to see how that is received politically around the country and what that means. I mean, what we need now to correct what it was going to be a mistake that the Supreme Court is going to make on abortion, is we need federal legislation.
So, okay, this is something that you hear a lot about too, where the left is saying you can pass some law to just circumvent Roe v. Wade. Why don't we just do that?
Well, because you don't have you have the thinnest of majorities in the two houses.
So it has to be what, a 2/3 thing?
Well, I mean, right now, any move for federal legislation to prevent anything changing, regarding abortion, would be filibustered out of existence. And we know for a fact that there's no will, even among the 50 Democrats, to eliminate the filibuster. So, is that Manchin and what the other bitch's name, Sinema or whatever it is? I don't know. I mean, we don't have the will. You need a much bigger majority.
If you do it through legislation, which then would become law, can that be undone in future Congresses? Not by the court, but a future Congress could undo it, right?
I mean, theoretically, that's the way it works, right? What would that ever happen? I mean, can you see?
How about doing it through an amendment?
Right now, why didn't the Republicans? I mean, they had 2 years of substantial majorities and the presidency. Why didn't they pass a law to overturn Roe versus Wade when they had a chance? Because there's no public support for that, right? Fully 70% of the American people or more are support of choice, right? And so I think that that's why they didn't do it. That's why they've been trying to do it through the Supreme Court. That's why they've been trying to jerry-rig the Supreme Court ever since Obama was elected.
Do you think, did I ask you this before, do you think that, we reference the Supreme Court as the law of the land? If cases are decided by the Supreme Court, should we consider those settled law to never be looked at again?
Well, I mean, what you're referring to is something called stare decisis, and that is
sounds like a painful stomach cramp.
It does. I might have just had some stare decisis. I think you might be witnessing the disintegration of that as a legal principle. So that is where, current Supreme Courts are supposed to respect prior decisions by prior Supreme Court courts, and that is to ensure the legitimacy of decisions made by the Supreme Court, and to try to stop public opinion from becoming that the court is simply an extension of political will, right?
Do you think that's public opinion, though? Because I've always maintained, I'd like to believe, and I'm hopeful still, that the idea of a Supreme Court, our Supreme Court, is supposed to be filled with people who are scholarly, who are professionals in their field and can be neutral about a case and make evidence-based decisions, and therefore that is the final resting place of all debates, and the answer and the decision that comes out of the Supreme Court can be and should be the law of the land. Now, I understand everything that you're saying and all the crap that we talk about on the podcast as far as the politics in it, but I think that most Americans like the idea that there is some be-all, end-all place where the voice of reason can be heard and decisions will be made to stop, batshit crazy ideas from one side or the other. Maybe that's my la-la land idea of how it's supposed to work.
Well, I mean, I think that when the court becomes so lopsidedly one way or the other, then that type of the public opinion is going to shift, right? I mean, so I think the reality of it is that the court has been, more liberal than conservative for a long time and has dealt with many questions their rulings have been more liberal than conservative for quite a long time. And so, and I think that follows, frankly, the political will of the American people for all that time. And I think it still does.
Well, hang on. Let's go back for a second.
Mm-hmm.
We know Trump appointed 3 nominees. Obama had how many?
Did he put anybody on? I don't even know.
I think he did.
Sotomayor? I
Maybe.
can't remember.
Bush.
Past that, I wasn't following it very much.
But Bush had at least one.
I don't know.
Clinton,
I don't know.
he had at least one. Didn't
Maybe.
he had Clarence Thomas? I want to say.
Right.
Bush
He didn't nominate Clarence Thomas. Clinton?
did that
Clarence
appointment
Thomas-
happen afterwards? Was that
Clarence-
Bush Senior?
Clarence Thomas is a far right wing conservative.
So was that Bush Senior then?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I'm trying to figure out how many of the most recent past presidents had an opportunity to appoint justices.
It's
a big chunk of them, I think.
Well, because there was a time where there wasn't much going on. I mean, again, they're old, right? So they hadn't been dying off at any fast pace. Scalia was kind of, it was kind of balanced, right? I mean, it was a little more balanced for a long time. And I think that I think Roberts, became a little more liberal than they thought he was going to be. I'm not really a scholar on SCOTUS, except that for sure this is the most lopsided it's been in a long time. I think there was a liberal majority, but it was like 1, right? It was like by 1, and or even 2, and so sometimes things could be, but and then there were some decisions where I think you'll find either Roberts or Kennedy ended up voting with the liberal side of the court, but I think now that's going to be gone because obviously between Clarence Thomas is an asshole.
Okay, I got the list here.
Okay, let's see.
But it's a little weird because it says who appointed who, and so like
Who
Obama
nominated who?
who nominated who. So Trump has 3 that we know of. Obama nominated 3, Sotomayor and Kagan, and then Garland, which it says lapsed because we know that didn't go through.
Right.
And I guess
so he had two
that got in, yeah. And then George W. Bush had,
but they replaced other liberal judges.
Right.
Right.
And then George W. Bush had 4.
He had 4.
Let's see. Did they all?
That would have been Clarence Thomas.
2 confirmed and 2 withdrawn.
2 withdrawn.
So he had
That's
O'Connor,
bad news.
Rehnquist, O'Connor, and O'Connor.
Well,
no, I'm sorry. Well, fucked that up. Roberts,
Roberts.
Myers, and Alito.
Yeah, Alito. Yeah,
And Clinton had.
Did he have any?
2.
Who?
2 confirmed. He had Ginsburg and Breyer.
Oh, he put Ginsburg on.
Yeah.
And Breyer. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because Breyer's old, and Ginsburg was old.
Yeah. And then GW had 2. Reagan had like 100.
No
1,
way.
2, 3,
Did
4.
Reagan have any?
He had 5.
He had 5.
5 and 3 confirmed.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's.
Well, I mean, and the definition of, what is a conservative now could have been a liberal in the past.
Yeah, because Clinton himself was a conservative by today's standards.
Yeah. So
he could run as a Republican today.
Well, look, there's a number of things that can happen. Bad decisions by the Supreme Court can motivate and initiate legislation to affect changes in the law. Remember, the Supreme Court's only supposed to deal with constitutionality of laws. So they're not, so if you enact a different law regarding abortion, there will be, if there are constitutional questions associated with that law, then that will follow the Supreme Court eventually. If a law is passed that avoids constitutional ambiguity, then it won't ever make it to the Supreme Court, right?
It should be ambiguous if it's tied in any way to Jesus or religion. If you're going to make your decision
the other way,
I know, it's just crazy.
But then the other thing is, this could be the catalyst that expands the Supreme Court, right?
Which would be bad. I think there's so many other things
It's
like
kind
we've
hard to
talked
say,
about.
right?
Well, again, term limits. This
9.
is something.
9 is not the magical number.
I understand it,
right?
and I know it's been more.
Well, it'll be-
Maybe it's been less in
Yeah.
the past. So I get it, but to do it now, like I just outlined, I think it creates more exposure for the time period that you have to live with possible bad decisions. I think you could solve the same problem by imposing term limits on justices.
Well, I mean, I think those are viable discussions too. I mean, I don't think I fully understand how that might affect, the Supreme Court one way or the other. But I mean, I think that's certainly worth exploring. Obviously, there are some problems with this, and maybe there's no good solution. Who knows, right? I mean, we would like things to be, rarely does the Supreme Court ever make decisions that take rights away from anybody.
Right.
So this is a different.
What if they
thing.
make a decision to take gun rights away?
Well-
Your other favorite topic.
Well, I mean, I think when you're talking about, again, I think I'm far more passionate about how I see the right and wrongness of anything to do with abortion than I am about guns, right? I don't think, I mean, was there shooting over the weekend?
Yeah, a school shooting in Michigan.
Right. So school shooting, they can't control this. I don't know. I mean, they had that kid. They had him. They knew about him. They had his parents there. They wanted him to take him the fuck out of there. Get your psychotic, brain damaged child out of the school. And the parents wouldn't do it.
Yeah, this is one of the most crazy, like if it was in a movie or a TV show, stories that I've ever heard. In the sense, so what I read about it is that just over Thanksgiving, the dad bought a gun. It was a handgun, so it's not an assault rifle like a lot of these shootings are. He buys a pistol.
I guess it wasn't for hunting.
Well, I mean, I don't buy that argument for a minute either, that
Yeah.
people cite, I need this gun for hunting. But he buys a handgun over Black Friday, apparently as a gift for his son. And I can relate. I remember we had guns in our house when I was young. My dad grew up with guns. I mean, he grew up on a farm, literally. But when we were younger, we had guns. I remember for Christmas one year, my brother and I both got pistols as a gift. Handguns. We didn't get pistol whipped. We got guns. I probably was 13 or 14 at the time.
How many people have you and your brother killed collectively?
That we're ready to admit to? 0. So I understand that part.
Take him to school.
And that is not uncommon, and it's certainly not, certainly there is precedent there when you look back over the course of our country's history that firearms are passed down and purchased by adults to what we call children. So this all happened right over, he buys this gun, and then the kid, like a lot of these troubled youths, he's got the signs. He's into some crazy shit. He's got he draws stuff with blood and, murder.
Yeah.
And
I am the destroyer, the killer of worlds.
So then it was a very short time period between the purchase of the gun and then he goes to school. The day, I believe, of the shooting, he's on his phone searching for ammunition.
Right.
Which
yeah.
even then I understand because he just got this new toy. He wants to buy ammunition for it.
Yeah.
The teacher also sees this note that he says, "I'm the destroyer." They send him to the principal's office. They call the parents. The parents come down there.
Yeah.
They say, "You need to take your kid with you today and get him into treatment, like counseling, within the next 48 hours." And the parents didn't take him. The kid goes into the bathroom, had the gun in a backpack, comes out of the bathroom, and starts blowing people up.
Yep. And the parents have been charged with involuntary manslaughter.
They were charged with involuntary manslaughter, which is another new angle, right? I mean, this is all over the news that's really kind of not a thing that happens, that you charge the parents when a minor child does anything violent. This is, kind of a rare occurrence that happens, whether or not it should, but I think it's rare. It hasn't happened too much in the past.
Well, I mean,
so then they
the
flee.
shootings haven't happened within minutes of the counseling session that the parents refuse to cooperate with. Right?
Well, and then the parents flee.
Yeah, I heard that
from the
too.
charge.
Yeah.
And then they were found in some building or something and then ultimately turned themselves in. So, dude, this is a wild story. It's a wild story. And
Well, we've talked about so much with Kyle Rittenhouse's mom. Should Kyle Rittenhouse's mother be charged for driving his ass to Kenosha?
see, that I think is why this is an important angle, because I believe that she should in that case. Again, he should never have been there. He never should have been able to convince his mom that he needed to go there. She should never have driven him there. If he left, snuck out of the house, like I don't know how many times you did as a 17-year-old, but
Well, when I did, it was to try to slice a piece off, not go shoot somebody.
I understand, but it wasn't always to do legal activities. We can say that, and I understand.
We were both minors. I don't know.
So anyway, he didn't need to go there. She drives him there with his assault rifle. So to me, she's complicit in a way as to what goes down, because she is directly involved in putting him
Kyle's mommy.
Kyle's mommy at a place he didn't need to be. Now, the Michigan gun parents, like I just said, just purchasing a firearm for your child should not be a reason why you would also be complicit in a crime that may be committed with that gun.
Oh.
I don't believe that. Now, I think there's more to the story, of course, and whether or not they acted negligently in the follow-up and the recommendations by the professionals, I think that's a different question.
Yeah, your kid is outed for having, what's the right word? Well, what does it mean when your kid writes, I am
The walrus?
Yeah, I am the walrus. Well, what did he write? I am
destroyer is what you said.
Yeah, I am shit. It's a quote, right? Destroyer of worlds. I am death or something. Destroyer of worlds. I mean, so you've just given that kid a gun, and the school he attends has just dragged your ass into the school to tell you that they have come up with information that indicates your kid is a psycho. And you then refuse to exercise your parental responsibility and take his ass out of school.
Well, and the other part of that,
and you have allowed him to take his gun to school.
That's the other angle, is that after they purchased the gun for the kid, it was stored in a nightstand drawer.
His?
No, I think it was the parents, but it was unlocked, unsecured.
Either way, fully their responsibility to keep that gun secure.
And that to me is a more important angle. So go back to the story that I told when my brother and I got those gifts as children.
Right.
We didn't have access to them. They were locked in.
Did your parents load them up and put them in your backpack to take to school with you? I don't think so.
Only on Fridays.
Show and tell and murder day.
They were locked up in a safe.
So sad. I mean, it's just but again, here's where I kind of draw a blank on the whole gun issue. I'm not convinced or have any strong feelings that any change in laws would stop these things from happening, right? I mean, it's America. You can get guns. You can get them legally. You can get them illegally. I just saw a thing there. I'm not going to remember her name. It's on National Geographic. She's a longtime investigative reporter who has a current show on Nat Geo called Trafficking. Her name is Maria something or other. I think she's Hispanic. But she's done many programs about trafficking, sex trafficking, drugs, this, that, and the other. She just did a show where she was talking about how she followed guns from the United States into Mexico. And how there's this huge, that in Mexico, there's only one store where you can legally buy a gun in all of the country of Mexico. And
what store is this?
Yeah, I don't know. But there are a ton of guns there, right? And they're all coming from the United States. They're just being driven down through the border.
Yeah, but we talked about this where Mexico is suing the U.S. government because we bring all of our guns down there.
Well, I mean, they're all coming from U.S. gun manufacturers. And in this report, it appears, although it's not been proven, but according to the people that were speaking in this show, many of the guns are coming from law enforcement in the sense that
Like former law enforcement guns?
I'm a cop. We confiscate this gun in some kind of encounter with gang members or this or that. And we then sell them to you for $1,000 a piece, right? And they end up going down to Mexico. So, I mean,
what's the channel? So, like, let's just say
there are gun runners that go to Mexico. They put them in cars, and they drive them across the border.
Is this an exchange too? Like the police department sells to the gun runners? Who's their customer?
Okay, so guns are confiscated by law enforcement in a variety of situations,
right?
And then end up not going into evidence, right?
And not being destroyed,
and then end up where police officers then sell them to
like
gun
individually.
runners. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Right, and so that is one of the big sources, right? Plus, you can just buy guns legally, right, and send them down. But I mean, the problem with that is that there may be some trail.
It's under your name
that
if you
bring
do
the
that.
guns back to you.
Right.
So there are a lot of
everybody knows you file off the serial number.
There you go. Whatever. You're the gun guy, not me. FBI. Here's the. Here's the.
I haven't bought a gun in a while. I'm overdue.
Okay, good. So anyway, whether that's true or not, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to slam the police when they're not going to come on the show and to try to defend themselves or whatever.
I have some cop friends. You want to interview some of them?
I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't like getting my name on anybody's list, especially cops. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just I just don't know that it matters. I mean, if we can have all kinds of gun laws here, and none of that would stop. If that's what's going on, if guns are going into Mexico, flowing through some kind of black market, no kind of laws are going to stop that, right? Or
school shootings, really.
Yeah, I mean, these are just, you're just not going to fix these problems with gun laws. I mean, I just don't think that's. I mean, I don't care. We talked about, I thought it was a good segment on our last podcast where we talked about what does it mean open carry and this and that. And, I wouldn't not want to live anywhere where people would be allowed to just openly carry their guns wherever the fuck they want, down the street, at the Walmart, whatever. I don't want to see them. I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in that kind of situation. And it's not because I hate guns or I blame guns.
What is it? Why? What is it?
Because
what's the visual?
It's just terrible. Just think about it, right? I mean, it's not fucking Wild West out here anymore.
But what is it? I'm just curious. Like psychologically, is it like does it trigger a war zone kind of feel for you, or does it make you feel like because there's guns, people would use them and I'm unsafe? What is it, you think?
Well, I mean, all of that, I would suppose. Yeah. I mean,
because there was a time, like you said, in the Wild West where that would have been commonplace more often than not.
Maybe.
Like Alec Baldwin was just born too late in time.
I got a feeling that most of the Westerns that we watched growing up were not very true to life. Right? So, but I mean, it just seems, think about it. Let's just think about it. It's a Saturday. I go over to the Orange Mall and there's a bunch of people with guns slung over their shoulders, or they're stylishly wearing them low slung on their hip, or a guy's got he's wearing a pair of jeans and a beanie and he's got a holster on his belt and there's a gun hanging out of it. He's not a cop. The only people I want to see with guns are cops, and other than that, I don't want to see any guns.
I think you're like most people. I think most people share that view. But I think, again, psychologically, because I'm qualified to speak on this, I just think that's a matter of conditioning. And like I said last week, there's a lot of people that carry knives, and you see the little clip, on pants pockets, and you go to certain places in California. Maybe some people don't realize that, Central and Northern California is more of a rural, kind of an agricultural environment. Everybody has knives. You can see them on every belt, every pocket, and you don't think twice about it. It's just a thing. It's just what you see.
Yeah, and knives and guns are not the same thing.
But the conditioning of the visual
that's
is
like
the same
equating
thing.
A gun and a grenade.
But it's not. It's the same as the style of dress. It's the same as, you go to a certain place in LA and they all dress like hipsters, and that's just what you expect to see there. You know what I mean? You go to into your favorite places in the South, you see a lot of cowboy boots.
I don't think we're heading toward open carry as a more common rather than less common.
I don't think so either.
But and eventually, I think there will be additional gun laws of some type. My only sole point there is that whatever comes in that situation is not going to solve some of the basic problems look, whatever this kid's problem was that did the shooting over the thing, nothing to do with guns being legal or illegal. He was going to act out one way or the other.
And we don't know what his actual problem is because, in my professional capacity, I've not treated him clinically. Right. But this goes back to the abortion thing. There's too many fucking people and too many crazy people.
Here's an example.
Jesus couldn't save him.
There's an example of a kid that should have been aborted. Okay. There's a missed opportunity. So I just don't. There's so many more important things to deal with than this, and it's such a sidetracking issue. And for the news, they can't slobber over it enough. So, just very sad, Yeah. So
how about shifting gears then? Our buddy Pooty, isn't Biden supposed to have some kind of a conference call with Putin?
Oh, Putin.
Didn't Bush call him Pooty?
Yeah. I don't know. Did he?
If anybody was going to give him a pet name of Pooty, I would guess it would be Bush.
Good for Bush.
I miss that guy.
Well, we got a dangerous situation, happening on the border of Ukraine. Our answer is we're thinking about sanctions on inner circle Putin people, whatever. I'm not sure how much sleep Putin has lost over that specter, but not much, I'm sure.
We talked a lot about, Putin, of course, thinks that he's smarter than everybody. He clearly thought he was smarter than Trump. And
he was right.
And he could manipulate him, but he probably was right. But you got to think he thinks he's going to just placate Biden. Let me just take the call with the old man to say that I did it. Fucking guy won't remember in the morning. Do you think Putin's going to take that call seriously?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think for Putin, any interaction with American presidents is just PR. His world stage place is just, I think he's wildly thought of as a corrupt organized crime boss and not a world leader or anything like that. Certainly not a statesman, right? So in that organized crime boss capacity as the biggest oligarch among oligarchs, he was Trump's hero. And so I think the debate about why Trump was sucking his dick so long is stupid. There's only one reason.
What do we think?
He's the head crime boss of a kleptocracy, and that's what Trump would aspire to be.
So what do we think? Because you said that a lot during those conversations, but what have we learned that actually, did Trump get anything he was looking for? Did he make any kind of request of Putin that was either turned down or was honored? Do we know? Have we learned anything?
Trump is an abject failure in almost every measure you can make, and that one's no different. I don't think he got shit from him. I think he played into Putin's hands. I think Putin is the only one that got anything out of that. He's able to portray himself to his countrymen, right, and his oligarch partners as an equal among American statesmen, which is the highest thing you can aspire to as a governmental leader.
But is it not a good? Is it not just
did the same thing for Kim Jong-un? Too.
Right, and that's. I think that any sitting president should and would engage with other, call them world leaders, call them representatives, call them dictators, whatever. But you have to at least make a good faith effort to engage these people. Otherwise, you're just playing the war game.
Engage them, but not do the shit that Trump did. South Korea North Korea rather, played him like a fiddle. The only person that got anything out of that situation was Kim Jong-un.
What did he get?
He got recognition and direct direct negotiation with an American president, something that had never
That was
happened.
happening because of Dennis Rodman. He's been over there negotiating long before
Jesus
Trump.
Christ. So, and then Putin, I mean, it's just pathetic, really. I mean, so yeah, I mean, Biden's going to engage him, and every president's going to have to engage with other world leaders, good or bad. But it's a matter of how you go about it, and we're certainly not seeing the same horse shit that we saw between Trump and Putin. I mean, and I guess this would be a COVID thing, right? They're going to do a conference call or something. It's meaningless.
But how can you not, if you're Biden, how can you not bring up Ukraine?
Well, he claims he's already brought up Ukraine, right? They've already talked about it in the pre-negotiations for the call. It's already been discussed. Are they going to talk about it? Well, what if they are? I mean, whatever. They're not part of NATO, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen there. Is Putin really ever going to push I mean, he can line up his soldiers all he wants on the border of any country that borders Russia. There's a number of them. And that's all it is until he pushes them over the border, right?
Yeah, so what would it take to, we talked last week about, would we engage? Would we get ourselves into another war? And would it, would Russia be the cause if they invade Ukraine? Are we going to wait until China does something? Or is it going to take, like I read this story over the weekend about I think it was a U.S. spy plane came in very close contact with a Russian passenger jet. And one report was that it came within like 20 meters of it. So is Russia going to use something like that the U.S. is, trying to put pressure on us militarily, and they're getting too close, and it's not the rules of war.
Spy plane close to a Russian airliner?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the other way around, where Russian military jet shoots down a civilian passenger plane, which they've already done. So,
Which was surprising that they had missiles that would actually work.
Yeah, it's just, it's a scary time. It's not, this whole thing in Ukraine's been, it's just a deal for him, right? Is he going to start a war over it? I don't know. I mean, it's just really hard to say. I mean, I guess you need to look at it and see somebody that can really understand and examine what the benefits would be for Putin, because that's the only thing that's going to matter. Nothing about right or wrong or anything like that is going to play into it. If there's some advantage financially or militarily or world stage politically for Putin to invade Ukraine, he's most likely to do it, right? If the consequences of that are so negative, are negative enough, he won't do it. And so that's what we have to try to portray is, hey, the consequences are going to be negative. Does that automatically mean we're going to send in troops to fight Russia in Ukraine? I think it is more a matter of, $1 trillion worth of arms being dumped into Ukraine to blow the fucking shit out of Russia. I think.
Do we need to get the police involved? Like instead of the gun running to Mexico, send them to Ukraine?
I don't know how much use they have for Glocks and AR-15s, but that's.
So do we know though anything that Trump actually asked of Biden or of Putin? And I mean, to me, if he was trying
the answer is no. I mean, I don't think he got anything from him one way or the other. I know either way.
Do you think he asked for like a little province somewhere in Siberia? If shit goes down, if they're going to come and arrest me, can I have shelter in Siberia?
I think in his twisted outlook, at some point he thought that he could take his when he was president, it was all grift all the time, right? And the grifting continues now. Whether it was his kids or, the girl or whatever her name is. What's her name?
Who's the girl?
Ivanka.
Oh, the daughter?
Yeah. Whether it was one of her businesses or something that was making money off him being president, his hotels. It was just all grift. And so I think that, we know that he was actively pursuing business and doing business in Moscow. He would need Putin's blessing for that. And I think the whole thing was a dick-sucking exercise so that he could eventually get that permission. And I think that since he lost the election, he's in a free fall of immense proportion, right? I mean, here's the thing.
You think Putin looks at him as a failure?
Oh, absolutely.
Like Putin maybe was going to give him a ranch in Siberia. He's like, look at this fucking failure as a U.S. president. I'm not giving you shit.
Well, I mean, look, here's the thing. We've already seen Russian oligarchs pay off Trump already, right? I mean, there's the case. I think there was I'm going to get this wrong probably, but I believe it was a Manhattan in a Trump building, $50 million for an apartment that, you know, wasn't worth $2 million. And some Russian oligarch paid the Trump organization over $50 million.
Maybe he was just prepaying the HOA dues for the next 20 years.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's the way it works.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never going to be a matter where Trump hands Putin hands Trump a bag of money or the vice versa on national television. That's not how it's going to work. So I think the payoffs, I think the grift and the payoffs from Russia to Trump have already happened and would only have continued to happen had he stayed in power. I think now, you know, one of the main reasons why people are telling him not to run now, for the few that are telling him that, is that if you lose, that cements your reputation as a loser.
But hasn't it already been cemented?
Well, it has. Yeah. I mean,
he's
the worst businessman of all time.
But then again, they say his new social media venture has already raised like $1 billion.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah, well, I don't know the name of it. He's had like
go.
three.
If it's a social media guy, and you haven't heard.
No, that's because his social media isn't active yet, and he's not allowed on regular social media, so you haven't heard of it.
The bitch from Theranos, right? The guy
Theranos?
with Theranos or whatever with a drop of blood, she raised $1 billion, and it was.
She's another crazy
scam.
fuck. She's another crazy Jesus-y fuck.
Where's the Jesus thing?
It's funny you bring that up too. There was a story, and I saved it because she's on trial, right? And they're admitting evidence, and there was something like some handwritten notes that they admitted to evidence that she wrote down. She sounds to me like a lost soul who has done a lot of self-help book reading, and every day she's got to look at herself in the mirror and tell her, I'm good, I am great, I am wonderful.
Daily affirmations.
Because she's really afraid.
I am a wild-eyed blonde.
Well, and she did the whole deep voice thing to sound like a man.
No, that's
and,
right.
You know,
I am a wild.
Portray herself as a confident CEO, I guess, in a man's world. But one of the notes that she wrote down that was admitted to evidence, she has like an agenda that she starts her day at 4:00 in the morning, and she wrote her entire daily activities starting at 4 in the morning. And I already call bullshit at 4 in the morning. Like, she's not getting up at 4 in the morning. Yeah. And you know the very first thing that she's doing?
What?
She's praying to Jesus.
Oh, is that what
she writes?
Is that what her note says?
4:00 a.m. Rise and thank God. Most things are not logical. This is what she writes. I mean, what are we doing?
Well, rise and thank God.
And people she raised $1 billion.
Every time I climb a ladder, don't fall off and die. Every time I have a severe chest ache and it goes away because it's not really my heart, it's some muscle spasm or something.
Yeah.
I'm probably thanking God in some esoteric form, like thank God.
But if you had fallen off the ladder and lived, you probably would thank God.
I'm cursing God.
No, because you live.
God damn, well, I don't know. Here's what I can remember myself saying. God damn it, I fell off the ladder. I don't know, man.
As soon as you give praise to Jesus and thank Jesus for all of your accomplishments, then doesn't that diminish your skill and your ability to perform on your own? If it's not really you, if it's just Jesus? If Jesus wins you the Grammy because you're the best singer, if Jesus wins you the race because you're the fastest driver, I mean, what do we need you for?
I love that. I love when sports figures,
I know.
It's not me. Give it up to Jesus. It's Jesus.
And I don't mean to be a Jesus basher, although I do think that is the root of all evil. I don't judge people if you're Jesus people. I have friends that are Jesus-y and they go to church and whatever. But of course, when we talk about how it,
the flash of that person, that mother that you were talking to at the at the Halloween trunk
Trunk or
wino
treat.
party or whatever it was, and your daughter looks up at what was it?
It was
star?
like a very bright star. It could have been Venus
It was
or something.
nighttime,
Yeah, it was
huh?
nighttime.
Yeah, and you're like, well, there's Jesus, and now this lady, slowly backs up and pulls her kid. Okay, got to go. See
Yeah,
ya. Gotta get
that's
home.
exactly. I don't blame her at all because that's how I would be.
Don't be scared of them.
But when the Jesus, dominates your thinking and it enters politics, like all the shit we talk about on the podcast,
Yeah.
it becomes dangerous. And I get it. We're one nation under God. And that's even a fucked up statement because that really implies that we should be one nation under one God and one religion. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of that too, right? I mean, there's a lot of that going on. And that's all on the right wing. You trust me, you don't hear any of that on the left, right? Oh, it's only one God. It's
Because the left is itching to abandon religion, I believe. I've talked about this a lot, that we will have a time when a president is not sworn in on a Bible, a Christian Bible, or maybe any book of faith.
Will it be their Mac instruction guide?
Yeah, it'll be their augmented reality goggles. I don't know what it'll be, but I think the left
hereby
is
swear to uphold the Constitution.
What are they going to uphold? What is the thing that will convince us? Because it used to be you're a God-fearing person, and therefore you're afraid to meet your maker if you do bad shit, so you'll do us right and make good decisions. Yeah. What's going to be the thing that we say, you know what, we can trust this fucker?
It's routines. That's not the right word. It's tradition. That's not the right word. There are rituals, right? That
what else has rituals?
What?
Cults.
Okay. There are rituals in the U.S. military. It doesn't make them a cult,
doesn't it?
No.
Oh.
But I mean, rituals play an important part in our societies and things like that. So it's, I think you just have to keep an eye. I'm not really in favor of trying to promote abandonment of all rituals and everything that ties us to any kind of art, heritage or cultures or anything like that. I think it's important that we, as a people, look at the rituals that we engage in that tie us back to our various cultural backgrounds with an eye to, what is compassionate and empathetic toward our fellow Americans and their backgrounds and cultures. And so when I say that, that's kind of a highfalutin way of me to say, hey, take the fucking Confederate flags off your truck or whatever. Because and like take them off your state flags and take them out of your fucking state capitals,
and that's the big difference.
Right? And get the fucking what do we do at Christmas? What's the thing where baby Jesus is in the manger? What do we call those things?
The nativity scene.
Get the nativity scenes off the public government property.
See, that is really what I'm getting at. It's a difference. Like you can say to somebody Merry Christmas because that's what you say as a white dude who was presumably raised in a Christian household, and somebody could say to you Happy Holidays, or you could say Merry Christmas to somebody who's Jewish and they say I don't celebrate Christmas, and that's an exchange between two people, and it's whatever, you figure that out. But when it's involved in government, when government has the Confederate flags and the Confederate statues and the nativity scene, you're basically saying we endorse
slavery and
religion.
Yeah, no, I get it. I don't know why people don't get it. I don't know why it has to be discussed so much. I mean, I don't know why in 2021 any government office or any place of government, whether it be local, state, or federal, would engage in flying the flag of a foreign nation, especially one that tried to overthrow the government, right?
Who's the foreign nation?
What was the Confederate States of America? I mean, that was.
Was it ever officially recogned as a?
No, it was never recognized. I mean, we fought a war where, hey, guess what? We don't recognize your succession. Right. We're going to force you back into the Union. I mean, but it's just nonsense that the people.
You sure that wouldn't fly now? You sure there's not something? Maybe it's not abortion. But are you sure there's not something that a group of states could try to secede and then it happens, whether it's by war or by agreement? And like I always say Republica and Democratica, but is there not one issue that you can think of, or maybe a culmination of issues that could actually happen?
No.
And you'll say, hopefully not in my lifetime.
Look, I think that the idea that, what's the question you're asking me? Do I see a possible set of circumstances that would cause some state or group of states to want to succeed?
Yeah.
Such as what happened during the Civil War? I don't. I think that war was fought then for a variety of reasons, some of which are clear and some of which probably are not as clear now as they once were. And I think some people would like to ignore some of the reasons why that happened. But I think that, that's the kind of thing that you have to look at and say, okay, well, first off, we fought a war internally over that. And for all the people that died fighting for the Union, then I think it would be a sacrilegious consecration of their deaths to allow anybody to ever do that again.
But on the flip side, could you not say,
and fuck the people on the Confederate side that died? They were wrong to start out with.
But couldn't you see a logical argument where you could say, hey, there's enough bloodshed. We don't, why risk it again? Let's just let them go their way.
I think that I'm not a fan of that idea. I
know you're not a fan. I'm just asking, do you think that that's a possible, like, would we, as a more advanced society and culture, choose the lack of bloodshed over disintegrating the Union?
I'd rather disintegrate the states involved.
What do you know what the death count was in the Civil War?
I don't.
Is it
was
like
millions? So.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Millions.
I don't know. I'm not a Civil War expert, so I do think it was quite a lot, and a substantial amount of people died. I think that a civil war in the United States needs to be averted at all costs. On a serious note, I
don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I think that was just that's just a bad idea. Anybody that has that idea is just wrong. I don't know what else to say. We need to concentrate on protecting ourselves from forces in the world that would do us harm. And to that end, we need to make sure that,
Jesus.
He's not in the world. He's out of the world.
Okay.
He's up in heaven or something. Yeah. Well, again, and on a serious note for that, religion can also often be the source of war and conflict, right? And it's been bad on every side. Islamic wars, Christian wars. We've seen it bad.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Trek. All of it's bad. So when are we going to live in Star Trek Federation of Nations, right? Federation of Planets.
You know what I didn't realize? If I got this right, in the new Star Wars, like the after the original Star Wars, what do you call those?
Yeah.
The sequels.
Yeah.
But the sequels to the original
3.
Yes.
Yeah. Then there were 3 more, and then
those were terrible. But the sequels, did I understand this right? That not everybody is in the war. Like when you watch the original Star Wars, you're either with the rebels or you're with Darth Vader. What is his team called?
They were the Imperial.
The Imperial Army.
Yeah.
But in the newer Star Wars, I kind of got the impression that there's like a society of regular people that go to the shopping malls and grocery stores that aren't with the rebels or the bad guys. Am I right on that?
I'm not 100% sure. That's a good question. I have to think.
Like there was this epiphany in the third one where the rebels are all but destroyed and they have like nobody left. Chewie and maybe C-3PO, but his brain got washed because they had to get some chip out of his head, so he lost his memory. They're like, what the fuck are we going to do? And then they find like this whole city where it's like, what are you doing? I'm just hanging out, golfing. We have hobbies. And there's like this regular society that you never hear about.
Well, there were so, there in Star Wars, there were a lot of planets, right? And so some of them were like really desolate, like Dantooine or some other places, like where Darth Vader grew up as a kid, right, where he was somebody's slave, and he raced some kind of what did they call them, speeders or something, right? All that shit, and that place looked like a shithole. But then there were luxurious, lavishly opulent places like
casinos and horse track
Yeah.
races and shit.
So I mean, the whole thing is always supposed to be some kind of simulation of the world, and extrapolated out. So I mean,
But in the world, there are private jets and country clubs, and then there are wars going on.
well, there are, but we only have one world. So for us, it's countries.
Now we have
right?
first world and third world.
Well, I think
is there a second world?
I think there's a third world.
That's what I mean. Where's the second world?
The second world is in the south.
I mean, I've been to third world countries, but no one ever talks about second world.
What third world country have you been to? Is that South Africa?
Yes.
Oh, is that a third world country?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was all civilized and everything.
Yeah, that's the cities.
The cities, but then the countries are third world.
Here's the most important thing about South Africa is they are far more African than Western.
Yeah.
So
That makes
I mean,
sense.
electricity,
Since it's in Africa.
running water. But I mean, Western in the fact that they were colonized by the West, by the English and the Dutch.
I would, I got to give you credit for going to a place where I would fear that the population, and maybe at any minute, might decide that me and my people had done them so wrong, they just want to kill me right on the spot. So,
well, you are definitely the minority there.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. So, but here's the thing. For me, I mean, for you, I think you'll probably go back someday. For me, there's not a chance in hell that I'm ever going.
Don't you
there.
think? I mean, you don't even want to go east of California, but you don't ever want to go.
I want to go east of Las Vegas.
Like, should we take the podcast on the road and maybe, like, would you ever leave the country and go explore and see another side of the world?
I do not have a passport.
Well, we can get you one.
Don't plan on getting one anytime soon.
Where would, if you were going to go to another country, where's a place you could possibly be coerced into going to? England, because they speak English?
No desire to go to England. We fought a war to get away from those motherfuckers. Not going back.
Ireland?
No.
Canada?
Never.
Don't say never.
What's that all about?
We have friends in Canada.
Yeah, that's
we
right.
had until you opened your mouth.
I don't even consider Canada a foreign country.
Florida?
That's a different world. that's stupid aliens down there. No, I don't know. Australia, maybe. Japan, possibly. Those are about the only two places. Only because Debbie's would have.
Yeah, you had a Japan trip, I think, scheduled.
I was committed to going, but
you should go.
That's because I could go to Japan because that would be important to Debbie and would mean a lot to her. I don't give a shit about my European roots or whatever. None of that means anything to me. I think of myself as American and only American. I don't think of myself as European descended or anything like that. I think for Debbie, I mean, she certainly, there's part of her that thinks of herself as Japanese, but she's American, through and through, in case the CIA is listening or the FBI or somebody. Yeah. So, I mean, I would go there with her. I wouldn't go there on my own. And as far as, is there someplace, not really. I mean, let's say you were in Java over the weekend. You're dead now because a volcano exploded and buried you in.
But you can't be afraid to live your life and
I'm
go
not afraid.
places.
I'm not afraid. Here's what it is. I'm just gonna go or not go where I want to go or don't want to go, and I don't give a shit.
And you're gonna do what you want to do and not do what you're not gonna get out of the fucking pool. We get it.
Yeah. I mean, traveling is just not a thing for me. I don't care. I am looking forward to a point where I have free time to engage in mostly intellectual pursuits. Like
read a book.
More time.
Are
to
you
read
reading it all?
No, not currently. Right, it's just busy right now. Right, and I have a couple. I'm still trying to get through Steel and Germs. And
Guns, Germs, and
yeah.
Steel.
And I'm still going to get you new copies. So
That's
I know
all right.
You're holding your breath on that.
I'm paying it forward to you.
And I saw that. Oh, now I've forgotten. Damn it! I saw that book on a bookshelf over the weekend in some kind of TV show shown on purpose.
Really?
Yeah. Shit. hold that thought, everybody. I'll remember, figure it out. I meant to do something.
You never even started Obama's book.
Oh, started it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
His sequel is going to come out before you finish it.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
You better get to work, my friend.
I also have the other book, the Audacious Musings of a Mind. No, what was it? His first book before.
Oh, yeah. The something of my father, something like that.
No.
Doesn't he have like
No,
a couple of
the
books?
word audacious or audacity or something in it. I'll find it.
Big, hairy, audacious goal. Remember that fucking cliche from the 90s?
Oh, my God. Yeah, no, but I mean,
if you could teleport and not have to travel in today's traveling the way we travel, if you could teleport yourself to another country, would you go?
Not necessarily.
I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for you.
I don't care how easy you make it. At some point, I have to be there in that country outside of the jurisdiction of my Bill of Rights. And that is not something I think is
it's
a
good
good
for your
idea.
soul. It's when you leave the country, you are instantly aware that you've left the country. And some things good and some things bad.
When I stop eating chocolate ice cream, I'm instantly aware that I'm no longer eating chocolate ice cream.
But you can go to your outdoor freezer and get more chocolate ice cream.
Well, I can just stay in the freezer and eat my fucking ice cream.
Like when you go to, Islamic countries, you literally fly in, like say to Dubai or something.
I have great respect for Islam as a religion and for the millions of people on this planet that practice their Islamic faith, and I believe that it's a religion based on love and that the radical Islamic things, forces that we've witnessed in the East are not representative of that as a religion. Just as rabid right wing people invading the Capitol is not representative of the whole United States or all Christians. But I'm not going to any Islamic countries, okay? Because not only do I not have a Bill of Rights there, they hate the Bill of Rights in most of those countries.
Well, and that's the thing. Like when you fly in, like you can come to this country and criticize religion, but there's literally shit on the airplane screen as you're landing of things that you cannot do when you land. And one is criticize Islam.
Right, exactly. And listen, you come here and land in the United States as a tourist or whatever, you are protected by our Constitution, right? You have rights. You have civil rights and human rights just by virtue of being here. They don't follow you back to your country. You don't get.
But you got to get out of your comfort zone.
You didn't get to go back to your country and say, "Hey, I have the Constitution."
You will love America more if you leave and are a little bit afraid, and then you come back.
I'm already afraid. Nah, not really. I don't think there's ever going to be any significant amount of international travel in my future. I just don't care enough. I'm already part of me says you're the lucky. We talked about this a little before. I'm one of the luckiest people on the planet. And when I say this, know that I don't mean this in any racist way, but I'm free, white, and over 21 in America. That's where I want to stay. And I don't.
Yeah, and you're going to die hanging your Christmas lights.
It's fine.
For your Jesus holiday.
That's not my. It's not my. It's not my. You'll see a distinct lack of references to Jesus in our Christmas.
No nativity
decorations.
scene in your front yard.
No nativity scene anywhere.
How about a nudity scene?
No nudity or nothing starts with N. Okay, nothing.
All right, listen. Have we had enough fun for today?
This has been good. So Omicron. Stay away.
Far away. Never to return. And only go to third world countries where Mike will never go.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.